Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about uncertainty. So, I'm just going to be honest. Earlier today, I really wasn't sure what this message was going to be called. I really felt that I wanted to share my testimony, like another storm, another trial, tribulation that I went through because I feel like it'll help someone. And I think the best way for us to learn is to learn from someone else's mistakes, like my book, Learn from Your Missteps. And I don't just mean that, I mean in general. I mean the number one book that you should be reading to learn mistakes from is the Bible, because there are a lot of choices, a lot of things that a lot of people did in the New Testament and throughout the entire Bible that shows and teaches lessons on how you can act in your life and you can do things better than the choices that they made. And so as as I was sitting there thinking about what this video was going to be called, I had a moment where I really started thinking about what I was going through. And then in church today, we were talking about fear and some of the things that make you fearful even when you're faithful, even when you have faith, which I know a lot of people find that contradictory because a lot of people will say, well, if you have faith, there's no reason to be fear, no reason to have fear because God is the person who covers everything. So really there's no reason to fear about anything. But the pastor brought up two things that make us fear, that give us fear. And usually it's death or uncertainty, or it'll be a thing, like it might be spiders or something else. And so when he talked about that, he went in and he started talking about. I took notes because I always take notes because there's this spiritual amnesia that is real. And I know like it's just something that, a term that I made up, not to coin it or anything like that, but I just made it up because whenever you're praying, whenever you're in church, whenever you are reading the word and you feel yourself getting tired, or you're in church and you can't remember what the pastor said, or you're in Bible study and you can't remember what the lesson was about, I really feel like that spiritual amnesia is part of the adversary's attack on us to make us not be well versed, for us to not be knowledgeable about the scripture. Because as long as we don't know, he will always be able to attack us in different ways. And the more knowledge we have, the more that we know we can call on God no matter what's happening. Even though Satan has dominion over the earth, he does not have dominion over my God. My God is so much more powerful than him. And as long as I know that, I'm good. It doesn't matter how down and out I seem. How far it doesn't matter how far I've come or how many things I went through, or what's happened in my life around me. God will be the thing that brings me out of whatever it is that I'm going through in my life. There is no weapon formed against me that shall ever prosper against my God, because my God is almighty, all powerful, and all knowing. He's omnipresent. He is everything. And it's so funny because some people will say, oh, I'm just going to do this. It could be at a job, it could be at a place, wherever else, and it is. And the person will try to get someone fired, or they'll try to talk badly about someone, or they'll try to put someone down, or you'll be with a guy, or a guy will be with a woman, and they will just beat you down and try to make you feel worthless. But God is the one who created you worthy because he created you to be exactly the way you are. You may not deserve all of the blessings that he's given you, but you are definitely worth being respected 100%. And so you'll meet people like that, and their intention is to stifle you. Their intention is to try to corrupt you or try to break you. But you can't break something that God built. There's nothing that the enemy or any person, any minion that he uses can ever do or succeed in when you have God on your side, when you know you can turn to God. Sometimes we forget and we get that spiritual amnesia again, and we just start to think, oh no, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to handle this alone. Oh, this person's doing this. It doesn't matter what any person does, because if you're supposed to be there, you're going to be there. If you're not, God has 12 other situations, 12 other outcomes, 12 other things, several. I mean, it's an infinite amount. I just put 12 in there just because. But it's an infinite amount of solutions that God has for your life. You don't just get the one job. You don't just get the one person. You don't just get the one friend. You get what God gives you. And God is a God of abundance. So it's not that you will be lacking anything when you lose the guy or the woman who is not for you. It's not that you're losing anything when you lose or you have to leave a job because, you're not treated fairly or you're not treated right or whatever else, or God has something else for you, even friendships. You're not losing anything, losing a bad friend. You're learning lessons and you're moving forward. That's it. And so, as the pastor preached, he had four things that he said is these were like the four things. So he said it's the Lord's presence. The Lord's presence, life will test you, but God is with you always. He says when you have the Holy Spirit in you, we are like Christ. So no matter what the situation is, we are trying to be like Christ. No matter how nasty someone is, no matter what's happening around you, you being Christ-like is what allows other people to see that this is how it is to have Jesus in your life. This is how it is to have God being a part of your life. And the pastor went on to talk about the footprint story. I know there's a lot of people that have heard it, but there's this guy, he's walking and he's got the footprints in the sand. I know I'm going to tell the story all wrong, but hopefully the gist of the story will still help someone and inspire someone, or it will be beneficial. And so the guy is walking in the sand, and as he's walking, there's two set of footprints. It's his and it's God's. God's walking with him every step of the way. And there's a moment cancer comes over his life, and there's only one set of footprints. And he's like, God, why did you leave me? And God's saying, I didn't leave you, I carried you. He carried him. That was God's footprints in the sand when he couldn't even make it through on his own. As long as he had God in his life, no matter what you're going through, God can bring you through it. No matter how tough it gets, no matter how your money looks, no matter who leaves you, the guy who you thought was going to be the one for the rest of your life, and next thing you know, you're single and you are single by yourself. You are alone, all in one. You're not all together anymore, but God is with you. You still have someone in your life, and that someone is God. No matter how big of a heartbreak or tragedy or whatever is taken from you in your life. And when I say taken from you or whatever is going on in your life, when I say taking from you, I do not mean that you are at lack of anything. Sometimes we have to get rid of things that mean us no good. Sometimes that toxicity has to come out of us. We can't have that and have God in the same place. We can't have the negative nastiness, jealousy, insecurity in the same place as love, hope, peace, and God. God is love. So there's no way that you are losing anything in your life just because something left. That something that left opened so many doors that you would have never been able to have access to if you still had that person, place, or thing in your life. Sometimes we have to get rid of those things so we can get closer to God. Sometimes things happen in our life because it builds our faith. Sometimes when those adversities are in our life, it strengthens our faith. It allows us to see God in a whole new light. It allows us to see that we can come to Him. It allows us to see that no matter what's going on around us, God's got us. It's nothing that the enemy can do. No minion that can come in, no weapon can prosper against us because God is all powerful. And so the next thing is the Lord's presence. It says that life will test you, but God is with you always. So true. Hold on. It's the Lord's purpose. Sorry, I repeated it. And I was about to say the same thing. But the Lord's purpose, it says to let you know who He is. Sometimes we forget who God is. Sometimes we will be in life and we will just be like, oh man, this is so horrible. Oh, this is going on in my life. Oh, it just seems like, I don't want to say woe is me, but we really underestimate what it is that God can do what our life can be if we have God in our life. Sometimes we really think, oh man, we got all of these things we got to do. If you have God in your life and you know what your purpose is, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter how confusing it is, no matter how crazy things are around you, there's something inside of you that keeps keeps you peaceful because God's knowing who God is allows you to see that anything is possible. And the next one is the Lord's power. So the Lord's power gives you peace. It allows you to be calm. And two of the scriptures that the pastor said was Romans 5:8 and 2 Corinthians 5:28. It talks about the righteous. The righteous will never be forsaken. And so that's just showing you that even through adversity, that peace that you're given comes from God. No matter what's happening around you, when you know God, you have peace. God, even when he was on the boat and there was a storm and he said, "Peace, be still." Jesus, being God in the flesh, had that power. He was able to allow things to be peaceful. And I told a story in the past about how that's how I want my life to always be, no matter what's coming at me. And even in the past, there's been times like because my faith has been strong in those moments. And I say in those moments because I don't want to say my faith ever wavers. And you can have a mustard seed of faith. And as long as you are faithful, God is there for you. What I'm saying is, even even when my faith was strong and I was focused on God and everything around me seemed like it was falling apart. But for some reason I felt calm. I felt this peace, this easiness that it's hard to explain, but knowing that God got you is a whole nother thing than trying to rely on the ways of the world or the people of the world to be a solution to you. And that's not to say that God won't send people who are there to help you. I'm saying that I don't have to look for a solution by asking Bob, Rick, or Jane for help. I can just call on God, and God will send whoever he needs to make sure that we're good, to make sure I'm good. The last thing was the Lord's priority, reaching the unsaved and strengthening those who are saved. Jesus is God in the flesh. You have to have faith. Faith has to be tested to prove it is possible. And I believe that 100% because if I didn't go through any test, if my life was just easy peasy, I I would never be able to prove to God where my faith lies. God will never be able to trust me with more if I can't do anything with the little that he's already given me. And I don't mean little like I'm belittling what God does. I mean, if God gives me, let's say he gives me $300,000 and he's like, "I'm going to bless you with this." If I'm not doing anything with $300,000 or being a good steward of that, if I'm not showing God that I can be serving with this, I can be intentional with this money, then why would he ever give me a million? Why would he ever make me a multimillionaire or a billionaire if I can't even be a good steward of my finances, if I can't even take the money and use it in a beneficial way for the kingdom? He wouldn't be able to. If I'm going through something horrible and I turn back to my old ways, that's showing God that he can't trust me. Why would he give me more, take me to another level if I can't even succeed on this level? And God moves at a steady pace. He will never rush me through life. Anything that's rushed is the adversary. And that brings me to the story that I wanted to tell. I feel like it's okay to say this, and I hope it doesn't scare too many people away, but I was listening to a sermon yesterday. It touched my soul. I almost spoke on the video last night, but I needed to wait till today. And I try to be super obedient. So I want to make sure that everything I do is intentional. Last year, I know I said this in a previous video, but I went through the worst spiritual warfare I have ever experienced in my entire life. I'm going to try to say this without tearing up or crying too much. Oh my gosh. Oof. Sometimes In life, we feel like when Satan comes to attack us, it looks pure evil, or it's something that we kind of can see coming. Sometimes he blindsides us. Sometimes it can be something that looks good or that is good. He can use something from as evil as, a bun D, all the way to something that's like a pope. I mean, as good as a pope, from that type of evil to that type of good. And I'm not saying, I'm saying that all popes are, or trying to just be prejudging, someone or something, or making it into a stereotype kind of thing. I'm just saying in general. Sometimes we think that the adversary, the minions that he'll use, or the things that he'll use to trip us up or to trick us into sin, or to make us want to feed our flesh, or to, and I'm just using examples. This isn't just my experience, but I've heard so many different things, and I'm using mine as well. So you'll hear me like go and say like a plethora of things. It's not that all of those things happen at once. It's just that maybe it might have been one of those things, but we really expect for what the adversary uses against us to look evil. We expect it to look like something that we would never have taste for, something that we would never desire or want in our life ever. And that's not what it is. I'm only telling you this because I want you to be vigilant. I want you to prepare for this. I don't want you to be blindsided like I was. I mean, I could have never imagined that that could have been him working in the background. I really thought that this was something that was good in my life, which is so scary. I know. But listen, because I don't want you to fall into the same temptation or fall into the same trap that I did. And I only say this and I only feel like I can be transparent because I'm here to be used for God's glory. I'm not here for people to like me. I'm not here so that I can be perfect or try to prove that, Christianity is just somebody just walking the straight and narrow and always doing the right thing and never making mistakes or never falling short of the glory of God or anything like that. Because I don't ever try to perceive myself as such. I want everyone to know I'm a real person with real feelings and emotions, with real temptations, with real mistakes, who wants to be better, who wants to be like Christ. That's my story. It's not that I'm just on here and I make every single perfect decision that you could possibly make and I never mess up. I never do anything wrong. The adversary comes at me and I beat every single battle. Like, I don't always beat every battle. God beats the battles. God is fighting on my behalf. He's carrying me like that story about the footprints in the sand. He literally carried me through so many things last year that if I didn't have God in my life, I might not be here at this moment. Like, that's how powerful the psychological, spiritual, and mental and physical attacks were on me. Like, I want to share this because I hope this will help somebody. And sometimes we don't talk about this. Sometimes we make it seem like I'm saying this, and hopefully nobody who is a Christian or not Christian gets offended by this at all. Sometimes we try to make it seem like when you find God, everything is just perfect. All of a sudden, there's no storms, no trials, no tribulations. You find God, and your life is just easy peasy. There's nothing that you ever go through again. It's just sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, and when something is coming at you, it looks like it's coming at you. That's not how it works at all. And I think we need to be a little bit more honest and transparent about that, because I think that is what stops people from stepping into faith. I think that's the thing that holds a lot of young people up, some older people, because they feel like as soon as something bad happens, they say, oh, well, the religion thing just doesn't work for me. It works for you. You just have to be willing to fight with it. You have to be willing to call on God. No matter what's coming your way, you are not going to be perfect. No Christian, no person that's religious is perfect at all. We all have flaws. And sometimes they're held at a higher standard. So you see one pastor do something wrong, and all of a sudden you think this is how God is. We are human beings. We will never be God. That's one of those misconceptions that I think really hinders people from walking and stepping into faith. No one person will ever be God. So when they make a mistake and you see them mess up, some people leave their whole religion thinking that a person is God, and they're not. They will never be God. As long as they have flesh, they will always sin. There will always be a sin that someone does, knowingly or unknowingly. Sometimes you mess up and you don't even intend to mess up. It's just something that happens. You could be trying to do all the right things, and the next thing you know, somebody calls you and they're like, "Did you hear about Bob? Oh, are you Bob?" You don't even have to say a bunch of words, but just the attitude that you had is a sin because you're already like adding to something about someone talking about their neighbor or a false witness or whatever else. You don't even know Bob. Like things like that. It could be something deeper. And maybe you slipped up or something happened in your life and you were real vulnerable, and the adversary just took that and took advantage of the moment because he doesn't take any days off. So you're looking at somebody and judging them because you can't understand how they could ever make a mistake when you make mistakes every day. It's just, I think we really need to be real with ourselves and real about what happens when you are religious, or what happens when you are going through battles, or how to deal with battles, how to put on your whole armor of God so that when you are in battle, He can finish the fight for you. It's already a fixed fight. I know I was about to start singing the song and stuff, but I'm not going to do that. But it really is, because God can win anything. We have free will. It's our choice to do the right thing. It's our choice to walk by faith and not by sight. It's our choice to, no matter, like, if you watch my videos, you have heard me say it would be so easy to do the wrong thing, because sometimes it is easy to just go and call the guy who I really don't want to be with just to be with someone. And I know I'm saying it and people are like, can't believe she said that. I said that because I feel like when it comes to people who are really trying to be religious, who really do want to walk by faith, who really do want to seek God, they need to hear the real. They don't need to hear a watered down version of what they think it might be like. They need to know what's really up, like what's really good. And it would be really easy for me to do something like that. But I don't want to be that type of person. I have to starve my flesh. I have to starve different areas of my life, even when there is an easy solution right in front of me. And sometimes it is so tempting to do the wrong thing because it seems like it would be beneficial in the moment, because it would be satisfactory just for a moment. It would be a temporary fix. It would be temporary satisfaction, but that's not something that will fill my soul. It will leave me empty after I do it. It will leave me empty after I use someone who I don't intend on being with just because they're interested in me. It would not feed my soul for me to use someone as a friend and have a friend who's a guy just to have a male voice because I don't want to be in a relationship but I want to talk to somebody. Like, it's not it's not benefiting me to do the wrong thing, but it would be easy to do the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we try to make it seem like because you're Christian, you don't ever get tempted. Because you're Christian, you don't ever have that id ego and super ego. And just for a little breakdown for people who don't know what that is. So, the id ego and super ego is a theory thought on by psychologists back in the day. And it's pretty much that thing that you see on cartoons with the angel on one side and the devil on the other. So, the id ego and super ego are three parts of your subconscious. So, one side is where you're thinking of doing the wrong thing, it's like the negative thing or whatever. And on the other side is doing the right thing. And the middle is the choice that you make. And so we are all always at a point like that in our lives, which is why you see some people mess up, because doing the right thing sometimes is really hard. It really takes a lot of discipline. This religion takes discipline. You have to be willingly starving yourself of things that you used to just do easily, that used to just be something that you did. But now that you know that it's wrong, you can't do it any longer. You could, but the guilt that you feel after, the unfulfillment that you feel, the satisfaction that goes away after a moment, because once you say something mean to somebody just because you thought it would make you feel better, it's really going to take a part of that hope that you had, or that a part of that peace, or a part of that joy, or a part of that love that you need for your religion, for your purpose. And so sometimes what the adversary will do is he'll make it seem real easy. He'll make it seem so satisfying, so tempting. And he doesn't just do it in a way where you would see it coming all the time. Sometimes you can prepare in certain areas, like I'm just going to use myself as an example. I might desire to be in a relationship. So the adversary might send me someone who is everything I could ever imagine a person that I would want to be with would be. And I know you're thinking, well, if it's everything that you want, you know, some people are like, well, that would give me a red flag immediately. That's because you're watching this video. When it comes at you, you're like, oh, I've let down hundreds of guys. This guy seems like a decent human being, and I'm giving him a chance because he's gotten some kind of validation or something. And you just feel like, okay, this is going to be, someone who deserves a chance or something like that. I don't know. But you really think that you know what's about to come at you, what's about to tempt you, what's about to make you. I wish I could explain this in the best way. Like, I'm trying to find the words to be able to show you how it would be in a way so that you can kind of get an idea so you could prepare yourself for it. Because I didn't prepare myself for it. I saw all of these areas that I was so strong in, and I never imagined that the adversary would play dirty. Like, I knew that he wasn't a nice person. I knew that he would definitely try me, but I thought it was going to be in an area that I prepared for. I thought it was going to be in an area that either I was weak or strong in. I had no idea it was going to be in an area that I didn't even see coming. I He made me want something that wasn't even something that I wanted in the past. And I don't think there's anything wrong with desiring this, but the way that I wanted it, it took a hold of my mind. It made me so vulnerable. It made me so weak. Like, and I mean, I was down for God. I'm still down for God. I mean, I'm trying to explain how in this religion I was. Like, I am. Like, at that moment, that was the strongest in my faith I had ever been in my entire life. I mean, when I say I was reading my Bible, I was exercising, I was taking care of my mental health, my body, my mind, my soul. Everything in me was all God. I was so focused on my purpose. I was so focused on doing the things, and I was being obedient. God would say turn left and I would turn left. God would say stop at this store and I would stop at the store. Whatever it was that God told me to do, I could hear his voice so clear in my mind. Like, I still have a personal relationship with God, but I'm just talking in this moment. So when I say past, I don't mean that I no longer am. I'm just saying it so I can tell the story. So I don't want anyone, and I keep correcting because I don't want anyone to think that my faith is ever going anywhere. I'm going to always be down for God. I'm just trying to reiterate or trying to paint a picture for what the story was like, or what my life was like at this moment. And when I say I would do anything for God, if God said, hey, give somebody $1,000, I would have done it. And I know some people are like, what? That's crazy. Don't be giving people money like that. I know you're feeling like that. But I knew that the money is not something I could take with me. It's not something that I wanted to worship. It's something that I don't care because I know God can give me, if I'm giving away 1,000, God's gonna give me 10,000, because He's the God of abundance. It's not that I was at lack of anything or I would need anything. I know God got me and He's taking care of everything. I have that much faith. I still have that much faith. And I just was so focused on God, so focused on my purpose, so focused on everything that I should have been doing, trying to be the best parent that I could possibly be, trying to love myself, talking life into myself, just so flat footed in my faith. Like, whew, I was on fire for God. Like, let me tell you. And I was just thinking, okay, you know, I don't care about exes trying to holler at me. It's just a thing, like that unfazed me. I didn't care about and exes. If you watch this, I'm sorry. I don't mean it in like a I'm trying to get on you kind of way, and I'm not saying it because I'm trying to put you down or anything like that. I'm just telling the story, and I think it would be beneficial. So please don't take it offensively. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings or if I said something that like made you feel some type of way. That's not my intention at all. And like it would be stuff like that would happen. I mean, I was ready for anything. I was so ready. I was like, I'm not worried about this, so I don't have this to worry about. I'm not worried about this. Like when it comes to people trying me, like people I had one person try me and they said the worst, most nastiest thing they could possibly say to me, and they try to rub something in my face. And you know what I did? I did what God told me to do. I I kept on pushing. I stood my ground. I did not go back and forth with a fool because you can't go back and forth with a fool. It tells you in Proverbs. I just was faithful and I did what God told me to do. And God blessed me for it. I had no more trouble out of that person after that. And I just, I mean, I never saw it coming. Never saw it coming. I was just so focused on being single and being happy being single. I never even imagined that the adversary would use it to try to deter my faith or try to make me feel like I needed anything else. Like I had everything I could possibly need, so what more could I want for, you know? And I'm just, I don't want to say I'm ashamed to say it because I feel like it's helpful for someone else. So you could boo me, you could feel a certain type of way about me. You could say, I would never, like most people like to say, I would never do that. Like, okay, we get it. You sound brave while you're talking. But when you get put in a certain situation, any of us in the right situation will be weak. Any of us in the right situation will put up with a guy or a woman who we know doesn't deserve us. Any one of us in the right situation will do the wrong thing, not because we want to, but because our backs were against the wall and we wanted to do the right thing, but for whatever reason we made a mistake or we messed up in one area or another. I really was so ready. Like I was so good being single. So good just only focusing on myself, just really doing the healing, doing the work that I needed to do to become a better person because I didn't ever want to meet someone who God had for me and be toxic or be rude or disrespectful or mean or nasty or take some of the hurt from any of my past relationships or past trauma and take it out on a person who never deserved it. I never wanted to be that person. I never wanted to be the type of person who would hurt someone unintentionally because I was hurting. I wanted to make sure I was in a position where I could really truly cherish, honor, and respect the person that I was getting to know or the person who I would be in a relationship with or whatever else. Like, even getting to know someone. I never want to punish someone for what someone else did. I don't even want to punish that person because revenge is God's, it's not mine. And I really, really was so focused. And when I tell this story, if you, the person who this story is about, watches this, please don't take it offensively. Please don't take it like I mean that, any harm by this story or that I'm trying to hurt you or anything like that. I just feel like it will help someone who is trying to grow in their faith, or who is religious, or who is thinking about becoming religious, because you never see what the adversary is trying to use against you, as you never see it coming sometimes. Sometimes it really does come out of nowhere. Most of the time, it comes out of nowhere. And you just have to have so much faith, or just know where you can run to no matter what's happening, to make the best decision for your life. So I meet this person, and this person is the kindest, most nicest person I've ever met in my life, which I've never, I've met like some nice guys or whatever else, but like really super nice. And I feel like the moment that the adversary tried to plant these little seeds in my mind was when we met. And then everyone, some of the people who knew me were saying that he was a decent person, that yes, this is a good person. And they didn't mean any ill will behind it. They didn't mean anything badly behind it. But the moment they did that, it made me feel this immense amount of pressure. Like, oh my gosh. Like I just felt like, because I screwed up so much in the past, because I've made so many mistakes in my life, it just made me feel like, okay, well, if anything goes wrong, if nothing happens, well, I wouldn't say I felt that at that moment. At that moment, I felt just like, okay, it really doesn't matter, because it's really my choice. It's not up to anybody else. It's up to me. So even though, although I respect other people's opinion, like this is going to be something that will be my choice. It's no one else's choice. So I kind of felt like that at that moment. And I, this wasn't the first time I met that person. I met them before, and I thought they were attractive and everything else. And one of the people that I knew had said something like, you're just not ready yet. And I was like, you're right. I really have to make sure that, everything is good with me. I have to make sure that I am healing properly. I don't want to just jump into anything. I want to make sure I take my time and I'll wait. So I did. And the person never said anything to me. They kind of waited until that moment, I guess a year later or something, to say something. I mean, no, we had a conversation before then, but to like really be intentional. And so I just, so I meet this person, and, you know, everything goes the way that you would want it to go. And as I'm getting ready to leave, I'm having a moment with God, and I'm kind of thinking about what it is that God wants me to do. And on the way there, I listened to this song that is a Christian song that's my favorite song in the entire world. I wouldn't say in the entire world, it's one of my favorite Christian songs. So I'm listening to that, and it's keeping me peaceful as I'm on the way to meet this person. And, I I have a good time, and I get ready to leave and everything, and I feel like this connection, which is weird because I don't connect with anyone. Let me stop saying stuff like that. But no, I really just don't allow anybody to get close to me at all. So it's just, I really just, I really, I don't know how to describe it. But, anyways, so I go home and I have a moment with God. And I'm like, God, I never checked with you to see if this is what you want for my life. I don't want to just end up like face down in a and heartbroken in a situation, like face planted, just like fall right on my face. And it's because it's something that I want, and it's not because it's something that you want for my life. I want to make sure that I'm anything that I'm doing is because I have your approval, not because it's something that I want. So if you say no at this moment, I will walk away right now. And I don't hear anything. I didn't hear, I didn't hear anything from God at all. So I took some time and I was reading the Bible, and I really was like, God, I really need you to tell me something because I want to make the right decision. And God says, no matter what happens, I will be right here with you. You don't have to go through this alone this time. That's it. That's all God said. And I was just like, I mean, it's not a no, it's not a yes. And then in my mind, because this person is a good person, I'm like, I don't know, like, I guess that means okay. Like, no matter what happens, I'm gonna be fine anyway. So I guess it's a okay. Like I didn't know what to do. So I asked for like a couple days to discern what it was that God was telling me to do. No, I didn't ask for that at first. I asked God that and he told me that at first. No, at first he said nothing. So I asked for discernment. But I only asked for discernment because that night when I got home and I got ready for bed and I had to go into the office the next day. So of course I couldn't stay out late anyways or anything like that. So that was good because I mean I feel like I was focused at that time, so I would have been fine. I wouldn't have been like super late anyways. But I get home and I go to sleep. In my dream, you know how they used to say that, I don't know if people know this, but they used to say like the witch is riding you, and it's when you lay on your back and you can't get up and you're having a nightmare or something. So I was laying on my side and I could not wake up. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do anything. I literally felt like I wasn't in control of my body or my mind. I know it sounds weird. People probably won't get this. I don't know, but I feel like I have to tell everything because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want there to be something that stands out to someone who's going through something similar, or the adversary is getting ready to attack you and you don't even know that it's about to happen because, like, just a little backstory on me real quick. I am a super caring person. I care about everybody. I'm really like, when someone feels a certain type of way, I really feel that in my soul. I really am empathetic towards other people a lot. Like, I haven't always been hopeful for myself. I had a little bit of cynicism, some kind of negative, things that I would do in the past, or say. But when it comes to other people, I'm super empathetic. I'm super, like, when it comes to emotional stuff, when it comes to caring, when it comes to anything that is emoting, I am super in tune with that. And when I say in tune, I don't mean in like a psychological, I mean in like a, like a one of those type of ways. Like, no, I'm not like saying anything like that. I'm just saying in general. When it comes to emotions, I just am really I I don't know how to explain it, but I just am really caring and empathetic. I just have this really, really huge empathy towards other people. And so, anyways, so I'm sleeping and I really am on my side and I cannot move. I feel like I'm not in control of my body, my thoughts, anything that's happening. I literally feel out of control. I feel like, and I'm sleeping really good. And I can't tell if this is a dream, but you know how you're in that in between stage before you fall asleep and before you get into deep sleep, or you can kind of feel yourself turn over or whatever else, but you're sleeping good. Like, that's how I felt at that moment, but I couldn't turn over. I couldn't turn on my back. I couldn't turn on my other side. I was stuck facing this way on my side, sleeping. And I felt like I couldn't control my thoughts. I couldn't control my body. I couldn't control anything. I felt emotionally, I just felt all of this tension. I just felt so, I don't want to say out of control. I I felt this thought dump into my mind, and I did some things in my dream that I definitely am not going to repeat in this video. But my whole, like, mind, body, soul, everything, I could just feel something taking over it. I could feel something guiding me to do the wrong thing. I could feel something making me feel like I could feel something make me feel like I had no choice. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, everything that was happening, it was out of my control. I see this dream, and this dream is showing like this future. It's showing like the person and all of these things that I would hope for as a person, and I'm not even thinking of that in reality. Like, that's not even something that even crossed my mind. I'm just living my life, doing the things that I need to be doing. And my flesh in that moment felt extremely weak. I know people don't always want to talk about this or say it. And I feel like I can say it because it's so long ago. Nobody's going to watch or know or care about it anyways. I mean, people will care who are going through it, who really feel like something is happening in their life and they can't understand or pinpoint what it is. But I just feel so vulnerable. So vulnerable. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Super duper. Like, I feel like there's nothing protecting me. Like, of course, God is protecting me, but I literally feel vulnerable to attack at this moment. So I reach out to the person the next day and I say, hey, can you give me like some time to discern if this is what God would intend for me to do? And I know that's like a cheesy thing to do and not everybody's going to understand. And some people are going to be like, I'm not good enough. Like, no, it was nothing like that. It was just, I really am so sick and tired of making a decision for my life that ends badly because I choose what I want and not what God wants for me. So I really wanted to be intentional and make sure that I was doing what God wanted me to do and not what I selfishly wanted because I wanted something, not because not because it was what I needed, but because it was what I wanted. And especially when my flesh was so weak, I definitely did not want to make myself vulnerable to anything that I couldn't take back, you know? So I just, I talked to the person a little later, and in my mind, I can't focus. In my mind, I just feel like emotionally wrecked. I don't like communicate in the way that I want it with this person or something, and emotionally, I feel drained. Emotionally, I feel like, don't want to say heartbroken. I feel like I don't know. I just felt so weak and vulnerable. And so I don't know how to describe it. But emotionally, I felt sad. Like, I barely know this person. And I emotionally feel like heartbroken. And the person hasn't done anything. They haven't, I mean, I have a conversation or don't have a conversation with them or whatever else. I just feel like emotionally I'm on this like emotional roller coaster. And it's not because of the person, it's because I just felt like something that night with that dream, with whatever was happening, left me open to some sort of spiritual attack. And I don't think it has anything to do with the person. I think it was because I was so faithful to God and I was so all in that the adversary knew that the only way that he would ever be able to attack me or to get to me was in a dream. And he used it. and he manipulated me, and he allowed it to take over my mind. He allowed it to take over the thoughts that I had, over some of the things that I was doing. Like, I really struggled. I was so emotionally drained and so upset, like, most of the time. And I know it sounds so weird because I don't know this person. So I really feel like it was the adversary making me feel like he made me feel like I was missing something. Like, you want to be single but you're missing something. Like, obviously. And then it made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Like, he's like, see, you're not good enough. That's why this person doesn't want to talk to you. That's why this person isn't doing this or doing that. Like, he was constantly trying to make me feel worthless, constantly trying to make me feel like I wasn't good enough, constantly trying to make me feel like I would never be good enough. That oh, you think that God's going to be able to use you. He will never be able to use you because you don't even believe in yourself, or because you're never going to be enough or do enough or say enough or talk enough or sound enough or do this enough. Like, it was attack over attack over attack. And he was throwing up all of these things that I'd done in the past, like mistakes that I've made. And I mean, the emotional warfare, the spiritual warfare that I went through is like, I could barely get a second to breathe without another negative attack or psychological attack or a spiritual warfare coming over me from the moment I, and it wasn't the moment I had a conversation, it's from the moment at, like, once we met up, it's like something happened inside of me. Like, it left something open and vulnerable for attack. I don't know how. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But I literally, it felt like something inside of me was dying over and over again. Like, it felt like the 15-year relationship when I was crying and I was upset. I felt that upset just in a normal day. Like, the adversary would say something and it literally made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I don't know. I don't know. It was crazy. And I couldn't stop the thinking. I couldn't stop thinking like that. I couldn't get it out of my mind at all. I couldn't focus on my purpose. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't I I had so much trouble. I had so much trouble just believing in myself again. Like, I had worked so hard on myself for a whole, like, year or whatever else, and that whole year I was just so good. I really believed in myself. I really was speaking life into myself. I really felt like I could do anything. I really was allowing God to use me however he needed to use me. I was doing all the things that God intended for me to do in my life. I was really so good. And I meet one person and I have, because I felt a little bit of hope for the first time ever. I have never been the type of person who would be hopeful for anything. Like, of course, I have hope in God. I have hope for other people to find happiness and all that other stuff. But for me, I never, ever, ever, ever thought that I would ever feel hopeful, especially ever, ever in my life, ever. Like, never, ever. And I felt like this twinge of hope when, not like that something was going to happen or anything like that, but inside of me, it felt like that thing that was making me feel like I could never have something like that made me feel like one day I could have something like that, even if it wasn't this person. It allowed me to feel that in that moment for some reason. I don't know why. And so weird because I always, like, no matter what I'm doing in life, if it comes to business, if it comes to, like, thinking of different ventures or, creating some kind of new business deal or e-commerce or, doing some kind of technology in the background, digital marketing, ads, ad campaigns, vendor shows, events, anything that deals with growing a business, anything that deals with me like becoming management or a leader in like some sort of business role, or me like doing something when it comes to like other things in life. I'm so hopeful for all those things and I just can do it. It's easy to me. When it comes to building a relationship, like I just got better doing friendship things in the past 2 years. I have not always been so hopeful for having good friends ever. And I've had these good friends for a long time. So they've dealt with me being so like, I don't want to say hopeless, but it's just through time we've built that type of trust. But when it comes to things like that, like I'm good. I could, when it comes to me going out making money, I could do that any day. Like that comes easy to me because I I don't mind working 12 jobs if I need to. I don't mind like going for things that I need to business wise at all. But when it comes to like relational things, something inside of me always holds me back. Something inside of me always makes me feel like it's hopeless. Even though like God's been giving me hope lately. And since I found God, it's been helping me be more hopeful with friendships and when I see people or meet people or whatever else. Instead of, and I'm not saying I put my hope in a person, I'm saying that it allows me not to be so standoffish or to be so like blocked or so like guarded against everyone, you know? And so I really dealt with this spiritual warfare so hard. And the person wasn't even a bad person. So I really feel like the adversary used this person because other people that I knew said that this was a decent person. Because and also I feel like it probably had to do with exchanging stuff with the ex a few days before meeting the other person. So if I hadn't have done that and been so raw and so like I cried so hard 3 days before I met up with this person. I cried like I lost someone and I cried myself to sleep. I cried so hard that I called my I called one of my friends who's part of the family. And well, she's now part of the family. And I called her and I could barely speak. I was so upset. I was so heartbroken and I was healed. Like I thought I was over everything. I thought that I didn't feel anything. I was just fine. And I was so upset. I called her and I could barely speak because I was crying so hard. And she told my other family member who was on the way down the road and he came over and he's like, "Do you need anything? You need some water? You need whatever else?" And he kind of sat with me while I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried until I cried myself to sleep. And he left. Like once he was like, "Are you good?" I said, mm-hmm. Like I was kind of still asleep, but I was like, and he just left. But I really, I cried so hard. I felt like I had nothing else left to give. And I was going to tell the other person, hey, I want to wait. And I could feel something inside of me like, no, just go now because it's already been a year or so, however long. Like, how much longer are you going to make this person wait? And even though I knew like I was super vulnerable, even though I knew that I wasn't in a good place, I still felt like I could handle it. And I really couldn't handle it. It almost destroyed me because I made that choice. That opened me up to vulnerability. And then when I felt that connection, which I didn't think I would ever like or wanna like anybody or be like take a liking to someone, I really felt like there's no way I'll ever like anybody ever again. Like there's no way I'll ever want to ever be with anybody. There's no way I'll ever want to get to know any person ever. Like And then that happened. And the next thing you know, all of the attacks started happening shortly after that, with the dream, with my emotions, with everything that was going on in my life. It made me feel like, and hopefully this person doesn't watch this, but if they do, it's fine. It's not like anything's ever going to happen now anyway, so it's fine. And just hopefully they don't take offense to it. But I, mm, I really, I really felt like, all of those toxic relationships where the guys like really weren't that great of guys anyways, at least I had an excuse then. At least I could say this is all their fault. I would never do that anyways. I would definitely take responsibility for myself, but in my head, I'm like, I always had like a reason. I could always say, well, this is because they did blah. This is because I might have did all of these things, but they did blank. Whatever it was. I always had a reason. It always gave me like comfort in knowing that, hey, I'm acknowledging all my stuff and these were not really nice people anyway. So it's fine. But it being an actual nice human being made me really take it personal. It really made me feel like something was wrong with me. It really made me feel like, well, obviously this person is perfect. This person, I mean, and no person is perfect. So don't take that to heart. It just made me feel like, okay, these people think this person is so great. They're such a kind person. They're nice. They're all of these things. So if they don't like me, if they don't want to be with me, if they think that I'm not good enough, then that means that I'm not good enough. That means that something is wrong with me. And the adversary kept replaying that in my head over and over again. Every time, I would kind of push the person away or we would not talk to each other because I just felt like so emotionally like I just like the emotional attacks were so rough. Every time I would talk to this person, I would feel that twinge of like insecurity or that twin, and it wasn't anything that they did at all. It was just the adversary was constantly telling me, "See, you're not good enough. See, this is the only reason why this is happening or the why this didn't happen is because something's wrong with you because you're not good enough. You're never going to be enough. You can never say that it's because of the person now. If anything happens, everyone will blame you because they'll say that it's all your fault." Like the pressure that I felt was not fair. And it wasn't that this person made me feel any pressure. It was just like the people around me made me feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be so judged for this. I'm going to really be so like, beat at the stake. Like I just really felt like I felt like it was the adversary kept saying it's all your fault. This is all your fault. The reason why this isn't happening is because you're not good enough. It's not happening because something is wrong with you. It's not happening because you did something wrong. You said this wrong. See, when you said this, and it made you seem demanding or, bossy or whatever else because you don't deserve someone who really would want to communicate with you. You don't deserve someone who really would honor and respect and treat you the right way. You only deserve guys who act like this. And he just kept replaying it in my mind over and over and over again, making me try to feel worthless. And every time I would feel a little better, then something would happen or I would see the person or whatever else. And it was just like a constant reminder, like that Satan was using saying, you're not good enough. Like, see? And then I would go and like do stuff. And the person's name is like a really popular name. So everywhere I would go, that person's name would be there. Every time I would go to a place, every time I would go to work, every time I would go to, I'd be in the car listening to music or listening to a sermon, or I would go and I would be reading, scripture, or and I'm not saying, whatever else or whatever, but no matter what I did, I would see a person, I would see the person, or I would hear that name over and over and over again. And every time the person's name came up, every time I would go, so it was like literal torture. Like, and it's nothing that the person did. The person is like literally the sweetest person in the entire world, but Satan used it to try to make me feel like I couldn't fulfill my purpose. And it was right when I was almost finished sending out the book. I had sent it to some editors, so I just had to do a reread and rewrite for like the last month before the book was published so I can get it published. And I mean, when I tell you Satan tried everything to stop that book, he literally tried everything. I could not find an editor anywhere until a month before the book was published. I could not find, or no, 2 or 3 months before the book was published. I could not find an editor anywhere. Every time I would do the format would redo. I I spent like after I think 72 times or something like that reformatting the book again. And the book was formatted by one of the editors, but for some reason it just kept re-going. It kept going back. It kept going back. It kept changing. The format size was off, so I had to redo the size like 72 times. The adversary tried everything to not get this book published. Everything that could have went wrong went wrong. He brought this person into my life right at the end of the book. He literally, I'm not saying that this was him. I'm just saying that he used this person at that exact point to try to stop everything that God was putting on me to do. In my purpose, when I was helping other people, when I needed to be speaking life into people, there were women who were at the end of like their relationship or trying to make their relationship work or trying to, they had just been through a breakup or they were at the end of the relationship and they were leaving, and they reached out to me and they're like, and the first thing I say is discern with God first. Like, don't ask me if you need to leave or stay. You know what is right for you, because I don't want it to be the reason anybody breaks up. I want people to stay together as long as they're healthy, you know. And so, like, people would be reaching out to me asking for help and need me. And I couldn't be there for those people in a lot of those moments because every time I would see that person, it would break something in me. Like it would make me, it would be like this reminder that I wasn't good enough. It would make me feel like horrible about myself. And I'm only saying it to be real. Not that I feel like this today. I'm just saying that at that moment while I was going through those things, this is how I felt. You saw some of the videos. I have a video on here that I did not post because it was so raw and so real. And I looked a hot mess. Like, I was crying hard. Not like my usual tears, but no, these were like tears. Like, I looked like a hot mess. It was bad. And oh my gosh, like, it literally drained. It was trying to drain the purpose out of me, but it couldn't because God was keeping me sturdy. God was carrying me while I was going through all of those things. While I felt like I didn't have enough strength to make it through it, He still helped me. And that was the only thing that helped me through the spiritual warfare, that helped me through the adversary's attack. And I kept feeling like, okay, well, maybe this person isn't for me. And then the adversary would show something like, oh, yeah, see, it would be like a saying, or it would be something that would be reassuring. He would use parts of the scripture to make it seem like, oh yeah, you should talk to this person, or yeah, you should be doing this, or oh no, or like I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna not talk to this person anymore, and then they would say something like, oh yeah, let's do such and such or whatever else, and I'd be like, I was just about to say this, and then I hear this, and then this is happening, and I'm like, every single time I felt like I was starting to believe in myself again. Every time I felt like I could do it. Every time I felt like I was in my purpose again. Every time I was completely focused. I was back in my Bible. I was on fire for God. I was doing all the things that I needed to do. I would hear from that person, or there would be something that happened. Like, the person's name would come up. And when the person's name came up, like, I could feel it a little bit, but when I saw the person, or I heard from the person or something, it distracted me. It wasn't that it did something like, I don't know, it really distracted me. Like, I would be like, oh, I'm going to read every day. Like, I love reading because it's the thing that keeps my mind peaceful. It's the thing that I do, like, just for myself, just to have some me time, like, because I want to learn more, because I want to be more knowledgeable and educated and stuff like that. And as soon as I get in my head that, hey, I'm going to read 30 minutes to finish this book by the end of the week, as soon as God would say, oh, I need you to do this, this, and this. And I'd be like, okay, God. And I would be obedient and doing all the things that God wanted me to do. As soon as I would say, I'm going to wipe down the counters in the house every night. I'm going to sweep the floor every every other day or every day. I'm going to vacuum every other day or once a week. I'm going to and I would get on a schedule and I would say I'm going to do this, and my prayer life was the strongest. My biblical life was the strongest. Like, I was researching parts of the Bible trying to find like different meanings for things, which I still do. But when you get that moment where you're really on fire for God, where you really are focused in your life and you got this schedule set, you got all of these things that you're doing. Every time I would be in a moment where I feel like, okay, I'm good. Like, this is what I'm doing, and nothing is standing in my way. Then I would hear from the person, or I would see the person, or I would see or hear from the person, and it would distract me for another couple days. It would and I don't mean all day. Like, it could be something like I would be like writing, or I would be, because I love to write, or I would be doing something. And instead of me focusing on that thing, I would just feel this, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. And I could hear it over and over and over and over and over again. It wasn't just like a one thing and it's like, oh, I am good enough. And then it went away. It was hardcore trying to break me. Like, when I tell you, the adversary gave everything he could to throw it at me to make me not write this book, to make me not help people. He did everything he could to make me feel like I could never trust another human being again. He did everything he could to make me feel like, see, you had hope for a person. I mean, I have hope in God, first off, not in a person. But I had hope that, eventually I could see myself, get to know someone. Eventually I could see myself, like, finally be able to be vulnerable with someone, or something like that. And it was like he was just like, okay, we'll see. And as I listened to this sermon last night, I didn't realize that this was even an attack of the enemy, the whole thing, until last night. Like, I knew I was dealing with spiritual warfare. I knew I was being tested. I knew things were happening in my life. But when the adversary whispered those things to me in my dream, when I stayed there and couldn't move and I had no control over my mind, body, or anything that was happening in that moment, when I saw that dream, and it played on my insecurity, it played on the things that I wanted deep down inside that I didn't even know was something that I desired. When he did all of that, it left me vulnerable. It made me feel like I needed the approval of this person, which is weird because I only need God's approval. And I don't know this person. I keep saying that because this is really how he does it. It's like, it's not something that you would expect to see coming. It's not something that you would expect. It's something that you would never, ever, ever expect. And he uses it to manipulate you. He uses it to try to break you because he doesn't want you to be in your purpose. He doesn't want you all in for God. He doesn't want you to be focused on God. He wants you to feel like, I really, I'm so ashamed to say this, but I really had a moment where I felt like, I'm going to say it because it will help somebody else, not because I want to be like criticized or whatever, scrutinized and everything else. But I really felt like, God, why did you let this happen? Why did you let me ever meet this person if I was never going to be able to be with this person? Why did you let me feel hopeful when you knew that there was no way that it was ever going to be anything? Why didn't you just say no at the beginning when I asked you? Why did you let me think that,
I just started getting like really mad at God. Like, God, I just don't understand why this would even have to happen in the first place. Like, why couldn't I was like on fire for you. I was so focused on faith. I love being single. I still love being single. But now I have like this weird desire to be in a relationship, which is not like me at all. And I just, and I never been like that. I've always just, I would be in, this is just me being real. But I've always been in a relationship just because I just could be. I never wanted to be in a relationship. There was always an option for me to be in a relationship. So I took it. I really was so mad at God. I was like, I was perfectly fine. I was happy and content with my life. I had everything that I need. I still have everything that I need. So why did you even let me meet this person? We've never, I've never like yes, I've seen them and stuff like that, but why? Like why even meet up with the person? Why even get to know the person if there was like the the only thing it made me feel was human. I mean, it made me feel like all of the other women who want to be in a relationship. It made me feel like so weak. It made me like start to doubt myself. I was just so angry, just like, God, so you did this. It's it's like I felt like torture. It felt really like torture. I really felt like I would feel fine and I would be doing the things that I needed to do. And every time I was focused, I would see the person or, something else. And it wasn't them. It wasn't that they did anything, that was horrible because I just, they just were being used for whatever it was that Satan wanted to do because he wanted me to not finish my book. He wanted me not to be in my purpose. He wanted me to doubt God. And unfortunately, I did have a moment where I just started to feel like, God, why would you even let me even meet this person if I could never be with this person? Why are you dangling this person in front of me? Why are you making like trying to, and it wasn't God dangling the person in front of me, Satan, it was just life. Like, I would feel fine and see the person. I would feel fine and hear from the person or something, and it might be in a different way or whatever else. And I just, it felt like, it really felt like torture. It felt like that, I don't know, whatever your favorite food is, but imagine you're on a fast and that your favorite food is sitting right in front of you every single day. That's what it felt like every time I would see that person. Like, I get to see this person. This person is a great person. They just don't like me. Like it made me feel like crap. It really did. It didn't feel great at all. It felt like a serious kick in the whatever. Like it really felt like I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like I was being tormented every single time. Like complete torture. Like, oh, see, this is something you'll never have. And then I would go like places and the person who was there at the beginning or the person who saw the person or whatever, every time I would be somewhere with a friend or a person that I know that knows that person, they would bring up that person every single time. Every time. Every single time. And I'd be like, seriously? Like, we have nothing else to talk about? Like, seriously, every single time. And I would be completely focused on something else. I'd be focused on growing my business or thinking of like different deals or thinking of like what I'm going to do with the book or like booking things and like I'm focused on like spending time and like enjoying the people that I'm with that are a part of my life. And every single one, like every single time you turn around, you want to bring up this person, and every time they bring them up, I would just hear Satan saying, "See, you're not good enough. They're gonna blame you. This is all your fault." Like when I was younger, I don't want to say I let down people in my life, but but I literally made a lot of mistakes. And I was one of those like teenagers that just knew it all, like most teenagers, and I just didn't want anybody to tell me any differently because I knew everything. And so I really I really put like the people who raised me through a lot of crap because I just felt like I knew everything. And I really couldn't. I was so immature. I just never wanted to listen with anyone to what they had to say. I just felt like I knew it all. And so like the thought of disappointing them again, you know, was just like they're gonna be like, of course, Nisha, you know? And I put so much pressure on myself. I really did. And the adversary used it to manipulate me, to make me feel like you're not good enough, to make me feel like you'll never be good enough, to make me feel like you've always done wrong and you will never be able to do better. Like you did all of this healing, you did all of these things in your life to try to be better, and you'll never be better. Like no matter what you do, you'll always do something wrong. You'll always do the wrong thing. And it's true. I'm always going to make a mistake. But the way that he was playing it on my insecurity was not good. Like, that was just not fair. It was horrible. And I just started to feel myself like, okay, I have to get approval from this person in order to feel like I'm not effing up again. Like I'm not doing all the wrong things. And I really didn't need their approval. But I felt this thing on the inside of me that needed something. I don't know what it was that I was expecting. I don't know, but I really could feel myself, and I don't want to say idolizing, but I guess I should say that. I could feel myself idolize a person that I barely even know. I don't know anything about this person. I don't know what their favorite color is. I don't even know their middle name. And I literally felt like that. And last night, I didn't know that that's what it was that I was doing until last night. Last night, when I listened to the sermon and the pastor talked about, spiritual attacks. And I thought it was so brave of her to talk about her story and to talk about what she went through. And I was like, God, I have to say something right now. And God's like, no, not now. And then today, I got ready to do this video and I prayed, and God said, now. And I didn't want to tell it because I was ashamed to tell it, because I doubted God, because I idolized someone, because I literally was angry at God for something that I couldn't see how God could send anything better. Like, I never even expected the first thing. I've only been treated like crap. I've only been in unhealthy relationships. So I really didn't ever expect anything from the person in the first place. So it was just like, oh wow. And I mean, and I really don't expect anything out of anyone, because I mean, I expect to be respected, of course, now, because I respect and love myself. But I just, that was never like a criteria for me to expect someone to do anything, because people are going to be people. They're going to do whatever it is that they can do, or whatever it is that they are going to do. I can't just make someone be a good person or make someone care or treat me right or anything. They just choose to do it or they choose not to do it. So I never like had that kind of like expectation. And so as I listened to the sermon last night, and the pastor talked about idolization. She talked about how she said when you pray to God for something and and your faith is wavering on that prayer for that person or that thing has become your idol. And I was like, oh, if I was a cursor, I probably would have said the S word right there. But I really was like, oh ish. Like, oh my gosh. That is exactly what I did. Unintentionally. Satan played on my insecurity. He saw my deepest desires and he used it to manipulate me. I manipulated the situation when I asked someone something and had a conversation about the person. And so a person that I knew, like, I guess must have said something to that person. And that's probably the only reason they even asked for my number. I don't know. I don't even know if they ever really liked me in the first place. I don't know anything. But because of the way that it started, because of the way that the adversary played on my insecurity, it took hold of me. She said, if you ever pray for something, or you ever start to doubt your religion because you're praying for something that you want and it's making you doubt your religion if you don't have it, that thing has become your idol. And she said God is not in the business of making anything an idol, because the only thing he wants you to worship is him. The only thing that he wants you to want that badly is a relationship with him. He never wants any man, any person, place, or thing before him, because he's a jealous God. He would never want your faith to waver because of something else. And I really was so angry. I really was so disappointed, just disappointed in myself. Like, how could you not say something here? How could you not just let this person be the person who does that, instead of having someone else step in to get them to get your number? Like, I didn't do that, but I was talking to like a friend, and the friend knows that person, so I think they must have talked to him, because I don't think he would have asked any other way. I don't know. I don't know if that's what really happened, but in my head, that's what I was thinking. And then I just, I really became like so reliant on needing the approval, because I felt like without it, like if he was like a mean person who was rude or nasty or was not whatever, it would have been so easy. It would have just been like, okay, whatever, you know. It would have been like, I probably would have known I wasn't ready and would have just said, oh, I'm not ready. Oh well, you know. Like, there was other guys that it was super easy to do that with. And for some reason, it's like Satan used it, because he knew it was going to be the thing that could break me, because I had prepared for all those horrible guys. I had prepared to just stay single, to never ever want to be with anybody in the first place, to never want to get to know any person better at all. Like, of course, I have a conversation with someone, but I could tell pretty quickly if we are equally yoked, or if they're going to be, up for the task at hand or whatever else. I don't know why I described it that way, but yeah, I can kind of tell pretty quickly. Usually within like one conversation, most people don't even make it to a date or a meetup. So it's just, I just, I don't know. And me, like, I guess it probably made it harder because other people knew the person. So it made me feel like I can't be as rough as I am with most people with this person. Like, I gotta be a little softer. So usually I'm just super straight up. Like, somebody does something or says something that's disrespectful, and I'm just like, mm-mm, no. Somebody doesn't keep their word or does something, and I'm just like, I expect you to be a man of your word. I do. And either they're gone or they step it up. That's just, it is what it is. I usually don't care that much. because I like being single anyways. And so the person's really going to have to be about that life to get through. Like, the only reason this person got through is because other people knew them. And I needed to be softer with them. I couldn't just be so rough, with them. I wanted to make sure that I treated them with the respect that they deserve. And I treat every person with respect. I say it in a respectful way. I just don't usually take anything. Like, I don't have time for the foolishness of it all. And I'm not saying this person did anything that was foolish. I'm just saying in general. So, I don't know. when So my point was, when the adversary starts to use something to trick you, to manipulate you, and usually you have to manipulate a situation in order to get it. That's how you know it's the adversary. Like with the me telling another person and they might have told them so that they can get my number, because I was definitely not going to just give it or ask for his number. Like, I'm not going to do that. And so I'm just saying, I just wouldn't want to do that, because I would in my mindset, the guy is the person that's pursuing. I'm not trying to pursue a guy. So I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying I'm trying to make any other woman feel badly or anything like that. That's just what I would want. And so when you feel like you have to manipulate a situation to get it, it's the adversary. When you feel rushed, like I could have just said I wasn't ready, because I was literally in tears 3 days before we met. Like, I could have given myself more time because I needed it, and been honest with myself. And if they waited a year, if it was right, if it was God, they would be okay with waiting 3 to 4 more months, or however long it was that I needed. You know, I could have just been honest about it. Whenever you need to feel like you have to pray about it and ask God for that thing because you want it so badly, and God never gave you a yes on it, that's probably the adversary. I don't mean like you're praying, hey God, send me the person at the appointed time, and God does. I mean, you're saying, God, let it be this person because it has to be this person. I'm not saying that's what I did, but I'm just saying in general. This is like part of her example. You're like, God, let it be this person because it should be, this person. And you start quoting scripture to try to like validate your claims because you really want to make it that person so badly. Like, if you're doing that, it's the adversary. The adversary is using it to manipulate you. It's becoming your idol, because you should never want anything that badly. The only thing you should want that badly is God. Whenever you feel like you want a person, place, or thing so badly that you're willing to sacrifice your religion, so badly that you are willing to get angry with God for it, so badly that you're willing to say a special prayer for it and use scripture to kind of validate your claim, not what God told you, but what you want for your life. It's not even what you need, it's just what you want. Then it's not God. That is not what God intends for you. God never intends for you to idolize anything above Him, ever. And the adversary will really use scripture. He will, because he knows scripture too. You will be doing something and you're like, okay, well, maybe it's just not meant to be because this, and this. And the next thing you know, it's like you hear this story about somebody who went through something similar, and you're like, they went through this. And in your head, Satan, just allows you to see the person or something, and they say something that's similar to the scripture, and it feels like validation, but it's not. That is not validation. If God's giving you validation, his yes is a yes. Like, it's a real yes. Like, I've had God tell me yes on something else, and now I can discern what a no looks like. Like, whenever, mm, 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 mm. If you want something that badly, it's not God. I promise you, it's not God. You should never want anything in your life more more than you want God. You should never be willing to sacrifice your peace or your joy for anything. Mm. It was another thing that she said in the sermon too, and I had it right on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot what it was. God, I hope God places it back in my mind so that I could tell you, because it was so important. Mm. I can't even think of what it was. Mm. Okay, so I went and got the paper because I did not want to forget this, and there's nothing that is stopping me from telling this message at all. So, the pastor said, you can tell if it's God or not by what it produces in your life, the fruit that it produces. So, you notice how I said that I was confused, which is the adversary. I was doubting myself, which is what the adversary wants. He wants you to drift. He doesn't want you to believe in yourself because it'll stifle your purpose. You notice how I said that it kind of distracted me from the things that I should have been doing. It really took my focus from the things that I was so like all in, so focused on in the past, like when it came to business ideas. And I did not stop working on my business or myself or anything like that just because of, someone that I met, and because the adversary was trying to stop me. I still did those things, but when I did them, like when I was reading the Bible, I had to read it like 6 times just to be able to hear the message, just to be able to read it, because I was so distracted. I I had to, when I was doing something, my mind was all over the place. It was really hard for me to concentrate on the thing that was in front of me, because every time I went to do something, I would be exercising and their name would pop up in my head. It was a literal torture. I don't know what in the world. And I didn't feel anything bad on that person. I know I say that and people think it's weird that I said that, but okay, I just said it, so it's fine. And I really felt this. It's so weird because before I met up with the person, I had another dream. I had the first dream. And the dream that I had was just that person was there, and I felt this sense of calmness and peace. Mm. I felt calmness and peace, which is why I decided to meet up. I did meet up prematurely. I should have waited and, talked some more and really been honest about where I was, and probably had said that I just wasn't ready yet, because I really wasn't, because I had just been crying myself to sleep 3 days before we met up. So I probably should have given myself more time, because that would have been the proper thing to do. That would have been the smart thing to do. And then maybe I wouldn't have been so easily manipulated by the adversary. Maybe then I wouldn't have been able to feel like I wasn't good enough, because just because the old relationship was over, it was just like, okay, well, this person this. But it was still a relationship that was over. So when I met another person, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't fail again. I felt this real weird pressure that I put on myself to just be perfect, to do everything the right way. And I was never going to be perfect. If you meet someone and you realize, think about the fruit that it produces. Think about what type of fruit that being in a, I don't ever want to say situationships. Do not set yourself up like that. Whenever you meet someone and you're getting to know them, and let's say you date or you go on a few dates, and I'm not even gonna get into that. Nothing bad that I was gonna say. My right hand's itching. You know the story. I'm old school. So when your right hand itches, you got to rub it on your pocket. That's just what we do. I know I'm not superstitious, but this is what people in my family have been doing for years. So I'm not about to stop because I'm on this video. I'm sorry, not sorry. Like, you heard the story of what I went through. Like, I'm I'm definitely rubbing my right hand on this pocket. It's just, man. Okay, this video is so long. Hopefully people have watched this far and they got the story that really helped them decipher between whether it's the adversary or if it's God, or to figure out when an attack is coming on you and what to look out for. Like, I don't want you to just go in it blindsided. I don't want you to go in it with your eyes closed and not know what to look for and expect this journey as a Christian to just be so easy for you to never have to deal with anything, or to expect Satan to send you something that looks evil. Sometimes he will send you the sweetest, most kindest person ever that will literally distract you from your purpose. Sometimes he will send something that looks amazing. And it's so funny because to I was expecting for the person that Satan sent, for them to be someone pretending to be good that really was true evil. Someone who was like rude or disrespectful in one way or another. Someone who looked amazing. Like, look like I was expecting them to be, not that the other person wasn't attractive. I'm just saying, in my head, the person was going to be this person who was a certain height. Like, in my head, I thought this person was like going to be a certain height, look a certain way, with muscles like super, like not super buff because I would have been grossed out by that. I'm sorry. For people that are super buff, congratulations. I just mean like if you work out and you have like a little bit of muscles, that's great. You know, I don't know what all the extra stuff is for. Like, I don't understand that. That's just not my thing. But other women go crazy over it. So, congratulations. I'm glad that you're like really that hardcore about working out. Like, I just want to make sure that I'm healthy and exercise every day, because I like to exercise because it helps me release like stress and keep my mind clear and stuff like that. I'm not doing it because I'm in a competition, which if I one day I might do that. Who knows? I don't know. But I just when I think of working out, I think of it just like something to do to like de-stress, something to like take your mind off of other things, something to do to really, it brings joy to you, it helps you psychologically, stuff like that. And like, if a guy works out and he is a little buff, okay, but like muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. What is the point of that? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. But other people like that. It's whatever people like. There's a person that really loves that. So that's great. I'm not trying to say anything badly. I don't know why I needed to describe that or like go into detail, but I don't want any person to feel badly. I don't want this to be like an attack on muscle on top of muscle people. I'm not trying to do that at all. I think that you are great just the way you are. And I hope that you love yourself. And that's it. And so, really, I really was expecting the person to look and talk and be a certain type of way when the adversary sent someone. And it was going to be something that, but I should have known it would be different, because I'm not the type of woman that likes what every other woman likes. I'm not. Like most women would say, I want a guy who's 6 foot, with that makes a certain amount of money, who drives a certain type of car, who has their own place, and who what's the other thing? Has a six pack or something like that. Like, I'm not that type of woman. I'm the type of woman who wants someone who is equally yoked spiritually, like who definitely believes in God. And I'm not going to say the rest of the things, but like the core values thing is so important to me. So of course Satan would send someone with the same core values, who's equally yoked, who's a decent human being. Because if the guy would have showed up and looked like what all the other women wanted, I would have seen it coming. I would have been like, okay, like I've ran into people like that, and I have no problem not talking to those people at all. This is how unimportant that is to me. So it's just, he will literally send you whatever it is that you like. He knows what you like. You might think, oh, he's going to send such and such, or it's going to look like this way. But if there's something that, and when someone has said this before, they said it would be something that you like, looking like a tall glass of like chocolate milk or whatever else. And you're like, okay, I know what to look out for. If he looks this good, something's wrong with him. I met a guy who looked like he stepped off the front page of a magazine and was interested, and I was just like, nope, just because I thought that was the adversary. And he was a nice guy, but I wasn't like super rude about it. I was nice and everything else. I just said, it's cool if we're friends and that's it. And I just wasn't ready anyways at the beginning, so it didn't work out anyways. But I kind of saw that one coming because I was like, that's you're coming over here looking like you stepped off the front page of a magazine. Okay. No, I already, yeah, we know what's about to go down. I mean, I was super nice. I didn't like act like that, like it was like something up. I just said I wasn't ready and then just went on about my business. I mean, we were still cool for like a good little while, but nothing nothing transpired because I couldn't, in my head I couldn't think of them as more than a friend. I couldn't think of like, and I don't mean like we shouldn't build a friendship first and then get to know each other. I could only see them as being like somebody that I was cool with for some reason. I just didn't feel it. It just wasn't, and it wasn't that we didn't like the same things we did. I just, I don't know, it was just something. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was, but if I felt that, then no. Like in my intuition, it just felt like something was off. I didn't know what it was, but I found out eventually one of the things, but it wasn't a horrible thing. It was just like, oh, okay. You know, doesn't it didn't really matter anyways, but okay. But yeah, it's just I would have been so prepared for that. I would have definitely seen that coming because I would have said, okay, not that I couldn't like date someone who looks like they walked off the front page of the magazine or would discriminate against them. I'm just saying that I just in my head was like, this is what they're gonna look like. And that person came in and I was just like, I didn't do that to them. Like, just know, like in my head, that's what was happening. On the outside, I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? And I really was polite. I was nice. I acted like a person of God, like a Christ-like person. I was like respectful and everything else. I just, and I was honest. I was super honest. Like, hey, I'm just not ready. I'm not, you know, right now in that place. I just, that's not, I'm cool with being cool. You know, I'm not gonna go into detail about that. But anyways, yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know how I got into that story, but okay. So probably don't need to say that part. That's just a little extra, but that was another thing that the girl in the sermon had talked about. I wrote like a couple notes. I was sitting there getting ready to go to sleep and I'm like listening to the sermon and I'm like, God's like, click on this. And I'm like, because I have been praying, I've been like, every now and then, even now, I still have moments where I get weak. I still have moments where I feel that way. Like I could feel like the other day I felt perfectly good. I was like, okay, I didn't clean the whole house. I got on this schedule. I was doing so good. And you'll never guess what happened. I see the person. And I froze completely. Like at first I didn't say anything and then I just said, "Oh, hi," because I didn't want to be rude. And then yeah, and just the person hugs me and I like my whole body tense. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there like a statue. Like he probably was like, I don't know what's wrong with her, but it's fine. I mean, it's not like there was ever going to be like, it's not like at this point, you know, it's I can't even I can't. This is how I am. every time. Like, this is just literally how I act. Which is, uh, I wish I could say that I acted differently than that, but I really didn't. I really didn't. This video is so long. I really don't want to be on here too long. So, um, and after that, I did have a moment where I could feel myself thinking about, like, all of those negative emotions started spewing in me again. But it didn't happen at that point. At that point, I felt okay. I felt like a little vulnerable, but I was fine. I was like, okay, didn't have the same effect on me. And the very, like, 2 days later, I see this person again. I don't even really see that person, but every time I get onto, like, the path of doing better, I see them more often for some reason. I don't know what in the world. And the second time I saw them, I could feel it a little bit more, and I could feel more vulnerable, and I could feel like all of those thoughts flood me. And that night, I could feel it, like, I could feel that Satan trying to use it to, like, manipulate me again or to make me feel badly. And I prayed hard. I prayed so hard. I had took a bath. Man, I had sermons playing, music blast. I did whatever it took to try to make me feel like nothing is going to make my faith weak ever again. Like, I want to make sure that I sought God the whole time. I was in my word. Like, I was reading my word, and I, like, had a thought of that person, and I read it again. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read this over and over again, because nothing is standing in the way of me and my relationship with God ever again. Like, nothing is going to come in between what we got, what me and God got. Like, I'm not about to become weak in the flesh or become weak at all. And I'm not saying in the flesh in that way. When people say weak in the flesh, immediately people think, sex. And I feel like it's okay to say that. I don't know if that's one of those buzzwords, but if it is, this video might not go up. But but I just mean, like, completely vulnerable, like your heart's on your sleeve, or like when you want something like a type of food or something, and it's like, on the flesh, you really want that food, but you know you shouldn't have it. Like, that's how I felt, but not like in that way, and more like in a heart kind of way, you know? And so, which is so weird. I like, if the person watches this video, they're gonna be so afraid. I already don't talk to them anyway, so it should be fine. But, like, they're gonna be like, this girl is crazy. Like, why? She doesn't even know me. I don't even know you. It's just so weird. This whole thing has been weird. Like, I've been acting really weird the entire time. It's just, I don't know what's happening to me. It really has been like the worst spiritual warfare, emotional, psychological warfare I've ever experienced in my entire life. It's really nothing to do with you. It's really just my own personal thing. I really feel like it's because I got this purpose on my life, and Satan's trying to do whatever he can to just stop it. He doesn't want me to live in my purpose. He doesn't want me to have that type of relationship with God. He doesn't want me to be successful. He doesn't want me to speak life into the right person, and then they help me change the world, or we both change the world together. I really feel like I'm a threat. And that's why the adversary is using whatever he can to stop me. Because when you are a person who's trying to change things, when you're a person who's trying to do the right thing, or trying to benefit the kingdom, the adversary will do whatever it takes to put some obstacles in your way that he feels like will stop you from your purpose, that he feels like will deter you from God. And if you don't have God on your side, you're vulnerable to his attack. You're vulnerable to him to being completely in control of your life, for him to take you as high as he possibly can and then drop you off the side of the cliff. He will do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. He never takes any days off. His minions are all over the place. And I don't mean that you're a minion. I just mean that I think that he manipulated the situation, since both of us were vulnerable, and allowed both of us to be used as an attack from him to try to make us weak. But I hope that we end up working together. And that way we can really show Satan who God is. Like, and when I say working together, I mean there could be something in the future where we are creating some type of business venture, and we could be able to grow the business because both of us are doing something similar or something like that. And it will be a good way to like stick it to the adversary, like, you tried it, but it didn't work, you know? And I know that sounds silly, but I really feel like division is the thing that keeps Satan so powerful. As long as people are divided in their families, as long as people are divided in friendships, in church, in whatever it is, he will always have the upper hand because we are stronger together. All of us are. No matter who we are, no matter where we know each other from, whatever else. It's something about that togetherness that really threatens the adversary. So, in conclusion, I almost lost my train of thought. In conclusion, whenever you feel uncertain, whenever you have uncertainty, always know that God is who He says He is. No matter what is going on in your life, make sure that you seek God. The thing that kept me strong through all of these psychological, spiritual, and physical warfare, all of those things that I was going through, was God. Because I stayed focused on God, because I stayed in my word, because I stayed prayed up, because I took a moment and I was like, hold on, I need like, can you give me a month? And the person was like so nice about it. But I'm really sorry that I made you feel like, if I made you feel, and I hate when people say if I made you feel, because it seems like their feelings aren't valid, and your feelings are definitely valid. I'm sorry if it seemed like I was like just trying to like joke around or like pull you along or like make it seem like I was interested and not interested. I was totally 100% interested. I just really was dealing with a lot psychologically, spiritually. Like, the spiritual warfare I was under was unlike anything I've ever felt in my entire life. And it's like, I don't know if it was time or what it was, but something was just doing everything in its power to make sure that I could never be vulnerable, or I could never like really get to know you or whatever else. And I know you probably will never watch this video, so I said you, and everybody watching it is like, oh, this person watches the video. I really don't know if they'll watch it or not. If God intends for them to watch it, they'll watch it. If not, then you know, I said it because I just want to make sure that I don't, whenever I do these videos, I don't ever want it to be like a personal attack on anyone or to make anyone feel badly. I really am doing it for the glory of God, because I want other people to like be able to avoid a lot of the mistakes that I make in my life. To be able to see like, this is where Satan tried to trip her up. So now I know what to look for. Now I won't just expect this person to be, if if in the past you like someone who was a thug, I'm just saying in general, I'm not saying this is my thing, but if you in the past you like someone who was a compassionate thug, who just was like, had nice eyes and was, I don't know, had nice eyes, and I don't know what else would be a criteria, but they had all those things. And in the future, while you rededicate your life to God, while you are in your religion, while you're in your faith, if you are looking for something the adversary is trying to send and you're thinking it's going to be a compassionate thug, it's probably going to be something that you like now, something that you desire now. It's not going to be the thing that you're expecting it to be. It might be that as well. So look out for both. Be vigilant. Be vigilant. I mean, I'm so serious. Because you'll think that the adversary is not paying attention to what it is that you like, that your taste might have changed a little. Your taste might have changed, but maybe there's still something broken in you, or something that you still desire from someone. Like, the inconsistency might have been something that you're used to. So maybe the person is totally different, but there's still inconsistency. So instead of you looking for the person to be a compassionate thug who's inconsistent, it happens to be a nice person who's inconsistent. You're still getting the same thing. It's just a different type of person. So your taste, you might be different, but some of your tastes are still the same. So if you know that you still have a taste for something like that, then definitely be aware. Make sure that you are not allowing yourself to be vulnerable to things like that. Make sure that you really do stick to your standards and you seek God's approval. And if God's not giving you a yes, then wait. If you feel in your intuition that you need to wait for whatever reason, wait. Don't do anything now. You're not missing out on anything, because whatever is for you is for you. It's no way that you could deter something that's for you from you. You will get whatever it is that God has for you. There's nothing that you can do to stop what God has for you at all. Which is why I always say, when people are trying to like fight for a guy or fight for a girl or whatever else, or a position, you're fighting for that position, and that might not even be the job that God wants for you. That might not even be the guy or the woman that God wants for you. So just do what's best and most beneficial for the kingdom of God. Focus on God first, and everything else will be given unto you. Don't allow Satan to use an area of your life that you think is healed when you're not being honest with yourself to manipulate you. Don't use manipulation to try to get someone else. You just have to be yourself. You don't have to be anything else. You being yourself is good enough. I promise you. Just continue to focus on what it is that God has for you to do in your life, and everything else will be fine. Make sure that you're aware that Satan doesn't play fair. And if you ever feel like you're in spiritual warfare, seek God. Don't, you might want to doubt him because you want the thing, because you're starting to idolize something or whatever else. But seek God. If you feel yourself idolizing anything, remove it from your life, because nothing that does that needs to be a part of you. It needs to be a part of what God is trying to do in you, because he will not be able to bless you with certain things if he is not number one. He won't. You need to really be honest with yourself. The thing that I think helped me up the most is I had been so confident and so sure of myself that when I started to doubt myself, I couldn't be honest with, I couldn't say, yes, I'm trying to seek approval from this person. I couldn't say, yes, I really truly did want this person to get to know me, even if that's not what they wanted or whatever. I couldn't be honest and say, you know, I really do want this and it's making me doubt things or whatever else. Like, whatever it is that you're lying to yourself about, like you're saying, oh, I'm still confident and I don't feel insecure at all. And you feel insecure ever since you met this person, or you feel you feel something that you shouldn't be feeling, especially if you have faith, because you get your security from God. And as long as God thinks you're good enough, you are good enough. You don't have to try to be somebody else. You don't have to prove anything. Like, Satan will try to make you feel guilty and think that, okay, if you let someone down doing this, then that means that you're a complete letdown, that you're a complete mess up, or that you're a complete screw up, and you're not. You're a person who makes mistakes just like everybody else. The only person that is perfect is God. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. And that is good enough, regardless of who does want to be with you or who doesn't want to be with you. And I know it sucks. I know it hurts so badly, because you can't help but take it personal. You can't help but feel like it's something that you did, or something is wrong with you, but nothing's wrong with you. Can we all improve and be better? Of course, we can always do better. But that does not mean that it's your fault. And if it is your fault, learn from it, grow from it, and do better the next time. This is not the only opportunity you will ever have in your life, at a job, a friendship, or a person. This is just one of many. So just do the best that you can and stop beating yourself up. That's what the adversary wants. He wants you to feel guilty and like you're missing something. There's no reason for you to feel guilty if you're repenting. There's no reason for you to feel guilty when God's already forgiven you for the things in the past. You're the only person holding on to it, and the adversary knows it. So he will use whatever slimy tactic he can to make you doubt God, to make you doubt the person that you're becoming, because he's threatened by you. He's threatened by the purpose that God put on you. So you being honest with yourself is the best thing that you could do in seeking God, because he will guide you everywhere that you need to go. He will pick you up. Just like that story with the footprints, where he was walking alongside the guy and then picked him up when he was going through cancer, and the guy thought that God had left him. God never leaves you nor forsakes you. He is always there for you. He's always with you. There's nothing that you're going through that God doesn't already know about. Like, I felt so guilty for, doubting God or feeling like, God, why would you just dangle this thing in front of me that I would never be able to have? And God was always there with me. He was never going to leave me. He told me that in the beginning. But for some reason, the adversary was able to manipulate my mind and make me think that God left me, that God just showed me this thing because he just wanted to rub it in my face and show me that I'll never be able to have it because this is the punishment that I was supposed to get that he forgot to give me in the past. He's not doing that. God is not a spiteful God. He is a loving God. He's so loving that he forgave me for everything that I've done in the past. He allowed me to still be using my purpose for his benefit, even though I messed up. There's nothing that you could do that would ever make God stop loving you. So just stay faithful. Definitely be on alert for anything that could be coming your way. Don't just be like always constantly waiting for something, but prepare by staying in your Bible, prepare by praying and building that relationship with God so that no matter what you're going through, no matter how weak you are, no matter what comes your way, you will be strong enough to make it through it. No matter how bad things seem or how doubtful it seems that you'll be able to find another job after this, or that you'll be able to find another person, or you'll meet someone who seems as kind as this person. Maybe that's not what you need. Maybe you need someone who is a good person, but who's communicative. Maybe you'll meet someone who is the things that you actually need, not the things that you want. Maybe you need some time, real time. Maybe instead of telling yourself that you're ready, maybe you need to really take a moment and take as long as you possibly need and allow God to work on the inside of you so that you could be the thing that he's creating you to be and not just have to pretend that you're strong enough. You will actually be strong because of the things that you went through, because of the things that you're growing through, the things that you're learning through. God will walk with you through the valley of the shadow of death. You don't have to fear any evil because he's with you. So just know that he is God. Know that nothing you do can ever stand in the way of your purpose because God can use any situation and use it for his benefit. Use it for your purpose. My purpose is built on all of the mistakes, not all of them, but a lot of the mistakes I made in the past is what pushed me to this purpose, what pushed me into my purpose, which would allow me to be strong enough to help other people, to be compassionate with them because I've been there, because I know how it feels. The reason why my business is First Love Yourself is because I forgot to love myself a long time ago. And it's a constant reminder for me to always love myself, no matter who's in my life, no matter who's out of my life, no matter what's happening around me. I always want other people to feel that way, to remember that they are special, that they matter to God, no matter what it is that they've done in their past, no matter what type of person they are or where they live. God loves you, and he will always be there for you. God, God is amazing. And I hope that if you choose to be Christian, if you choose to give your life to God, that you do it knowing that you got to put on your whole armor. Every day you got to pick up your cross and follow God every single day. But what is the thing that's holding you back? Because if you feel like it's going to be easier just to do what you want, if you know it's the wrong thing, it's not going to be easy. I would definitely follow with all the spiritual warfare, everything that I went through. I would rather have God there with me than for me to have to go through all of that stuff alone, because I wouldn't have made it without him. There's no way I would even be sitting here if God wasn't with me. The reason why I'm not in some kind of like mental asylum or in a hospital bed from stress or something is because God's with me. Because God's carrying me in areas, giving me strength that I don't even have in areas that I need it the most. Without God, I'm absolutely nothing. He is
everything to me and always will be everything to me. The adversary really try to use it to manipulate my mind and to make me not want God or to make me not focus on God, but it really helps build my relationship even stronger with God. Because now I see that even through my flaws, God still loved me. Even when I was doubting things, God was still there for me. Even when I was weak, He gave me the strength to keep carrying on. And because of that, I love God so much. I can't imagine my life without Him. I can't imagine doing any day without Him. And no matter what God gives me or blesses me with or takes away from me, I'm so thankful regardless, because I know that He is looking out for my benefit. He would never take anything away from you that is good for you. Something that bears fruit, that's fruitful. Something that adds to your life is not something that God will take away. He only takes away the things that would be a disaster for you. Something that would stifle you. Something that would destroy you. So, although, it's like a little embarrassing sharing the story, and I'm a little ashamed of some of the things that I've said in the past, especially when it comes to God, I'm glad that He never left me. I'm glad that He allowed me to make it through what the adversary thought was going to break me. He allowed me to be stronger because He knew that I could handle it. Even on days when I thought I couldn't handle it, I called on God so hard. Like, I prayed like my life depended on it, and it really did. I really needed Him. He was there for me. I called on Him. There's a part in a scripture in the Bible that says something about even when you are at your lowest point, when you call on Him, He will hear you. He will hear His children. And it's so true. I've had moments like that in the past, and God always comes through for me. And because of that, I can never see my life without Him.